But as a pediatrician, we also know, with a special focus, Dr. Murray, you're right there in line, right, with Carolina. You see a lot of moms, just like Carolina, looking to gain confidence, especially as new parents. So first question out of the gate, I would ask you is, how do parents maintain their confidence when facing criticism about their natural parenting choices? I mean, that's a big one on everyone's mind.
It is a big one. And there is a lot of criticism sometimes in the natural world. And I think it's important to understand that maybe people are not quite understanding why you're doing what you're doing, why you're parenting your child the way you are, why you're making the choices. And truly, their opinion doesn't matter because this is your child, right? One day you're going to look back and you're going to want to say, oops, I made this mistake or I did this right, but it was my choice to raise my child that way. You don't want to look back and say, oh, I listened to Sophia's advice and now my child is suffering this and I wish I would have listened to myself.
Right.
So I think the most important thing when it comes to being a confident parent is listen to your intuition. It's like a little compass guiding you, right? If something feels off, that means like, okay, maybe you need to research a little bit more about this topic. When I became a parent, I quickly realized I was very different than all the other parents. I wanted to hold my child. I didn't want my child to cry. And I would go to mom groups and everybody was letting their babies cry and doing things differently. And it made me feel a little uncomfortable. So I personally turned to books and studies to get my confidence. Once you start reading the research and the science behind this, the information from psychologists and pediatricians that align with your view, you start feeling more empowered with what you're doing.
For sure.
You'll have the information, and then back then, at the beginning of my journey, when people are telling you like, oh, you're doing this right now because you only have one child, wait till you have two. I didn't know what else to say except cite these studies or the books. But now that my kids are older, I realize like, we don't always have to say something. We can just say, thank you for your feedback. People can think whatever they want, live their lives, and this is your child and your life, and that's what you need to come back to.
I couldn't agree with you more. And don't you experience this in your own clinical practice, Dr. Murray, in terms of the unsureness of a lot of new moms approaching you with information as opposed to coming from a world where pediatrician, MD, licensed is God, you know?
No, absolutely. And that's what I was mentioning before. You know, there are parents who are actually seeking out holistic alternatives, looking at natural, conscious parenting. There are parents who sort of been on the tiptoes looking into that field because something is not quite working in their own family and their own children's health. And then there are the ones who are really just coming because they've been recommended by a medical doctor to seek some sort of holistic care as well. So everybody's in a slightly different position. Everybody's maybe a parent for the first time. They don't know everything. And it's an exploration and it's an education. And everybody ultimately has to find their own way.
I 100% agree with that. Also because every child is different, right? I have two children. I am the same type of parent, but I use different strategies with them. And like you said, that comes with time. But comes with time, with research. And one thing that I like to do is if you hear criticism or something that you don't like and you have a bad feeling inside of you, I actually analyze that because I'm like, well, maybe this is trying to tell me I need to tweak something in my parenting. And we are so lucky to be in the time of the internet. You know, my parents had to raise me and they're just like, well, we're just hoping we're doing this right. But we have so much information out there. And even now, like when I began my parenting journey, I was one of the few people talking about conscious parenting. But now we have so many great resources, right?
So a lot of, I can imagine a lot of folks listening at home are thinking, yes, I want to be that advocate. And you spoke about some of the resources that you sort of fell back to. And but bring us back to child number one. I mean, you're not yet conscious mama, right? You don't have a soapbox yet to stand on. And you may have only just maybe started reading the first few, journals or books perhaps. What advice would you give for parents listening at home looking to navigate their own journey into finding somebody like Dr. Murray for the first time?
Well, I think it's important to remember that this is your child for a reason, and you're the right parent for them. And your job as a parent is to give it your best. And that might look different every day. And your job as a parent is also to understand that you are human and you will make mistakes and you will learn from the mistakes. And as long as you're focused on your child, on loving them, on being respectful, treating them like a human being, right, then you're going to be in the right journey. And you don't need to have all the answers now. What you need to do is go in tune with yourself, even remember your childhood. Remembering your child, how does this make you feel? And then use that information from your past to parent your child, and know that this is going to be a journey that evolves, right? And a journey where the reality is most of our society has not been raised in a kind, loving, respectful environment. We need to learn these skills and tools. So you have to either find a support group, a really close friend who aligns with you, or a professional that you trust and aligns with your views and you can talk to, books. There's tons of Facebook groups. You need that support because there will be days where it's a little harder and you need that somebody else to tell you, like, you know what, that is right. Like, let's not spank our child. Let's talk to them. Let's figure this out. Let's talk and connect.
No, I completely agree, Carolina. And sort of just to take a step back and set the stage on a wider scale for what you're saying and the importance, I'd like to just look at, the last, say, 30, 40 years in America, where we've actually seen and studied what is the current health of today's children in America. And what we see in the past 40 years, we've gone from 1 in 50 child having some sort of chronic medical condition, meaning they have to be under the constant care of a medical doctor and taking prescription pharmaceuticals. 1 in 50 40 years ago, and today it's 1 in 5. That's a huge, huge increase. So we see like 200% increases in asthma, 300% increases in diabetes and obesity, 400% in ADD, ADHD, 500% increase in autism over the last 40 years. So obviously something is not working as well as it should. So I admire and congratulate every parent and any parent who pursues their own understanding of what their child needs, what is the best path for them. And like you say, each child's an individual, each family is their own unique unit and family. So kudos to you for finding out, pursuing,
Thank you.
and educating.
Absolutely. How about, could you share a personal experience, if you're willing and open to the audience, where you had to stand firm on your parenting convictions despite external criticism, maybe even from the pediatrician in charge of your first child's health? Maybe it was a condition you were looking to treat, or perhaps a condition you're looking to prevent. Was there any of that you can share?
Well, I've definitely have had a lot of experiences like that, but health related, thankfully, my children are very healthy and I am very proactive in their health and maintaining them healthy. But I feel like when I began my journey, I was looking for a doctor that could be like my partner in this journey, right? Like help me, there's so much information online, help me sort this out. Help me like, okay, I read all these studies, but there's contradicting information, help me out. And when I started, that just seemed like really hard. Right. I found a doctor. She was really nice, but she was very traditional and did not want to hear about nutrition, about food. Like, she thought it was a little silly that I only wanted to buy organic things. So that's when I realized, wait a minute, this person works for me, right? Like I'm hiring this doctor and paying them for the services. Therefore, I should find somebody that aligns with our family values, that aligns with what I want for my kids. And it was a journey. I started looking at different doctors, asking in groups, and eventually I found the perfect doctor for our family. And for me, that is invaluable, because if my child has something, a rash, they feel bad. I actually at this point have my doctor's cell phone number, so I will text her a message, text her a picture.
Well, that's lucky. Not everyone has that.
I am sure that is rare, and I'm lucky. However, even before meeting this doctor that I had now, I had a doctor that I had very easy access to. I'll see a lot in my Facebook group that has almost 40,000 moms. They're saying like, should I go to the doctor for this? What do you think this is? And when I see these posts, what I think is, what we need to focus here is finding the right doctor, because these questions should not be asked on Facebook, right? Your doctor knows you better. Right. And I think something that has been important for us too, now that my kids are 8 and 11, we have a family doctor, because their health issues are going to be tied to me and their father's issues, right? So if a doctor sees all of us, there's a more holistic approach, and they understand our family dynamics, and then they're able to guide us in this process. So I have now asked my doctor so many times, like, I read this research, I think about this food, or like, my little one has been having a lot of tummy aches, and we always start with a natural approach. And to this day, my kids haven't had antibiotics or any meds over the counter because we've been able to treat everything naturally. But it's because, you know, I am proactive and I have a doctor that I trust and we can have these conversations. And I do the wellness visits even now because I want my doctors to get to know the kid's healthy. Because when a doctor knows your kid's healthy, they will pick up when something is off.